All right, I got the queen with me today. Would you please introduce yourself to the theology audience, please?
Hi, my name is Tiffany Bluhm. I am an author, I am a speaker, and I work in social impact leadership. I live in the Seattle area. I really center my work on faith, justice, and women's liberation.
Lovely, lovely. And she's a writer. She has was it two or three books, friend?
I have
Three?
6 books
Girl,
out.
ooh,
I
forgive me.
have books and Bible studies. My
Mhm.
latest one is The Women We've Been Waiting For, examining minority women history in both modern and biblical history, who we can look to as examples where we might not have before, and knowing that their aches, their pains, their fears, their joys are also ours. There's nothing new, and we can look to the matriarchs who've gone before us.
That's so good. I love it. I met Tiffany through the Made for PAX Fellowship. She is the director of that, and I've been really blessed by it. I just want to start off with your history, but I want to talk about Tiffany's history first. So I just kind of want to, as much as you want to share,
Oh,
what
yeah.
what's what is Tiffany's history with the faith? Who is Jesus to Tiffany? How do you know him? How have you come to know him? All the things.
Yeah. I was orphaned on the streets of India and adopted about a year and a half later by a family in rural Washington state. I live closer to the city now, but did not meet another person of color until I was 13.
Wow.
Don't recommend. I do not recommend that. And I came of age in the backdrop of 9/11. And so
Mm,
appearing Arab to those who lived with fear and really had to come to grips with being brown without blueprints or family to do so was really
mm,
challenging. And I
mm,
heard the gospel at 13 years old. And I remember thinking, if this is real, I'll give my whole life to this. I will
mm,
never look back. And that has been my story. I never felt Indian enough in America, and I've never felt American enough in India, but I felt at home in the kingdom and I found my
mm.
whole self there. And it has been such a sweet journey to walk with the Lord. I lettered in youth group because it was my first introduction to a really emotionally safe space,
Mm,
and not just psychological safety, spiritual safety, community. I got to really have a vision for adults who loved well
mm,
and who loved Jesus well and loved their families, and got me excited for what could be. So right out of high school, I went into full-time ministry. I moved to London,
mm,
where there's no separation of church or state, so you can preach the gospel in a public school. So
mm,
really got to cut my teeth in my public speaking and started writing. And when I came home, I worked at a mega church here in the Seattle area for a really long
mm,
time. Got to disciple and write prayer guides and write Bible studies. So really got to cut my teeth with in the community and walking
mm.
alongside people. Um, but writing was always the dream,
Yes.
publishing was always the dream. And when I just had my second baby, we're talking like that baby was fresh out the chute, 6 weeks old. And I said to myself, self, let's take this writing to the next level. Like, this is your
Mm,
passion. You have worked, you have labored on this. And I remember, sis, I saved up. I we were broke as a joke. Like, after two babies, I had left my full-time ministry job. I was the
mm,
breadwinner. My husband was a fifth grade teacher at the time, making like
mm.
$36,000 a year. Like, we were
Bless.
just figuring it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're just
Yes.
figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I saved up to go to a publishing conference for women and
Mm,
like pitch my idea in person.
mm,
And I printed out one sheets of like just the basis, and then if they ask you for your whole proposal, you can bring it out, kind of thing. It's like American Idol. You have 15 minutes to give your idea. Truly, you have like 15 minutes and two slots. And so I remember I met with an agent and an acquisitions editor, and the agent was like, "You still need to like polish your idea. It's not very clear." I was like, "Great feedback. I will take this." And then the next day, I had another pitch. Um, and the acquisitions editor looked at me and she's like, "Girl, it's your time." And I was like, "I'll take it. Let's go." And
Oh,
so that began my publishing journey.
yeah.
That was in 2016.
Wow.
So yeah, oh my grace. So 10 years
10
in
years.
publishing. Yeah, 10
Wow.
years
That's
um
amazing.
of beginning my publishing journey. So honored that I have the opportunity to write words that people use to learn about the nature of Jesus and a holy imagination for what could be. And I'm also a writer for the Bible app. So I have several Bible studies on there, and several other outlets that I've gotten to be featured in. So writing has been the passion through and through, and writing for what I want to read. And I just want to say this on the creative art and act of writing.
Mm,
Writing for what you want to read is such a motivating way to write when you don't attach any commercial success to it, but just writing because
mm,
you can't not.
yeah,
Doing what your art form because you can't not, I think is a necessary way to approach it.
yeah.
And I've kind of gone left. My first book is a bit more memoir and how do we see Jesus engage with women?
Mm,
The second one is looking through the eyes of Moses. It's called She Dreams. And both of
mm,
these have accompanying Bible studies. And then I wrote a book called Pray Tell about the abuse of power at a woman's expense and how
ugh.
we often see it in faith spaces, how men get away with everything and
Everything,
anything, and
child.
women pay the price.
Yes.
And really a deep dive of why we are so quick to uphold abusive men and
Mm,
shame innocent truth-telling women. And
mm,
then, of course, my last one, the women we've been waiting for. So, which is a devotional. So I've
mm.
zigged, I've zagged, I've written different styles, and really honored that that's part of what I get to do.
Like I said, queen, queen. Like she really be doing this in real life.
Not you making my day. What? What's happening right now?
I want to talk about what you just said, where you were really involved in discipleship when you worked for a large church and you were really kind of immersed in those spaces. I'm really intrigued by sometimes like how much people don't know history, biblical history, but then also just like history in general. Like I was
Mhm.
sharing to somebody the other day about how enslaved women often had to nurse white babies when they were on
Oh
the
yeah.
plantation, like they were nursing mothers, and somebody was just like, "What?" And I was like, "How do you not know this at
How
this
do you not
point?"
know that? Yeah,
I
you're
was
like
like, "Google is
in the
free."
book. Yeah,
Like,
Google
what's
is
happening right
the
now?
library card is
I was
free.
like, "That's crazy," but I guess where do you see maybe a gap in just the church's overall understanding of the land that we live in, the history of it? The church's complicity in so many different social issues, and maybe like how can we become more, I don't know if this is really a term, but like historically formed, like we're really trying to,
Oh,
with
I
the
love that.
spiritual formation, but maybe how can that run in tandem with just us being historically formed to know maybe where we need to repent on some issues and pivot so that we don't keep repeating history.
Yeah, well, Western Christianity's obsession with dominance and conquest led to a focus on personal individual spiritual salvation, not
Mm,
communal renewal. So communal renewal and an
stop,
understanding of
wait.
history, what
Everybody stop, write that down, right?
okay.
She already came out the gate. Go. Okay. All right, go ahead. That was crazy.
But
Okay, go.
but that objectification and that
Mm,
obsession again with really colonization, it
mm,
superseded any understanding of equality and equity among the people that they were in community with. It was
mm,
to control, never to commune.
mm.
So, with that, why would you need it? Would be a disservice to the mission of conquest to be historically informed. it
Yes.
was
Yes.
in it was in the best service to tell a version of events that would benefit Western evangelicalism, Western white supremacy Christianity, because that
Mm,
would lead to control, that would lead to, let's be honest, dollars, that would lead to, in their mind, a well-founded fear of the other.
mm,
So how could you possibly care about quote unquote social justice when
mm,
that's not in their mind foundational to the gospel?
mm,
And yet here we are fully understanding the gospel is an embodied good news. It is good news for here and now. John Perkins would always say, if it's not good news for the person down the street, it's not good news. It's not good
mhm.
news here and now. It's not just good news after you pass.
Yeah.
So for now and for all eternity, we hope to embody that good news.
Yeah.
So where does it need to change? I get really excited when there are churches who choose to be informed, just informed. And it's so sad that that's considered such a step up or like such a flex, but you're like, no, this should be permission to play. This should be how
Yeah.
we operate in the world. Now, I also want to say I was in megachurch machine ministry. I always call it the mega machine, which maybe not as appropriate, but the megachurch world, pre 2016. And so
Yeah.
it was a different time. And I'm like, only by the grace of God did I leave in 2015 and
Mm.
before
He really
2016.
shielded you for real.
I don't think I could have handled it. I already left for pretty heavy reasons, and so I could have
Mhm.
only imagined just that would have, I mean, for any person of color to find out, wait, what? We don't all agree that everyone is made in the image of God and deserving of goodness. We don't. I thought that was what we all, I thought
I
that
was
was
like,
part of the
this is
plan.
news to me. I
It
didn't know.
was news to me. It was
Yeah.
news to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that there is such room and invitation to grow. And I would say a challenge to all listeners right now,
Mhm.
whether you're a person of color or a fair-skinned brother or sister,
Mhm.
we all need to be widening our understanding and learning from theologians and Bible scholars and
Mhm.
historians that are not white, that
Yeah.
are not white. It is imperative for
Mhm.
our understanding. We will not be able to move forward into kingdom come unless we are rooting ourselves, as you said,
Yeah.
historically and just understanding why is the region in the United States or around the world, because yeah, I'm sure you got worldwide listeners. Why is your town sway the way it does? Why is
Mhm.
it sociopolitically the way it is? What is the makeup?
Mhm.
What has happened to make it so? What is the history there? Knowing who, what, when, why, where. I would say I'm a pretty natural, reflective. I mean, I'm a writer, so I love to sit, reflect, write. And especially my last two titles are pretty heavy on research. So it is a joy. It is a joy. And I know I'm talking to a librarian right now, but it is a joy to learn. It is a joy to
Yes,
learn
it is.
other
It
people's
is.
experience and hold that cognitive dissonance, hold that
Yeah.
understanding that two things can be true and two
Mhm.
people's experiences can be true.
Yes, that's so good. That's so good. We were talking about my girl Ola. Ola's probably tapped into, but I remember hearing you speak at the retreat. And first of all, you're amazing. And I was just sitting there, you started talking about the Black Panther Party. And I think one of the first times that I realized that like evangelicals was not rocking with the Black Panther Party was around 2015, 2016. And I was like, because in
Oh,
my context growing up in a black church, like we had no beef with the Black Panthers. Like there was no like, oh, they're othered or like they're militant or anything like that. Like I
oh
think
wow.
one
I'm
year
so
for
sorry to tell you.
girl, I was so
Oh no,
confused.
2016 you said.
Yes. My church was just black, black. Like we had Black
Mhm.
History Month program. We're reading passages from Exodus and then quoting MLK in the
Oh, I
same
love
line.
it. Oh my
So
gosh.
when I got to like a kind of a more majority white evangelical space, I was like, y'all not rocking with the Panthers like that? That's crazy.
Mhm.
But when you told that story at the retreat, it like really just like warmed my heart and I just want to like kind of ask about your book and just kind of what are some of the pieces of history of just women really living out the gospel, like not being
Yes.
on this like, yeah, we're Christians and we come on Sundays, but like no, like really like you
Mhm.
said, embodying the gospel. Because I was talking to another friend like that. I was like, I feel like women have had no choice but to be communal with this
Mm.
thing. If we're not backing each other up, who else gonna do it?
Yeah.
Because we have to support each other. So just maybe talk about just some of the favorite stories that you heard, or just some of the things you noticed as you're researching of just how women have really shouldered the communal call of the gospel.
Wow, so well said. I first want to say, when you look at so many historical movements, uh, global majority, also here in the States, you are going to see a handful of women behind the scenes who are
Yes.
making, I mean, look at the civil rights movement.
Hello.
Like, look at all those women behind the scenes.
Yes.
We don't have a day off for them, but let me tell you
Mhm.
something. They were doing the dang thing. They were
Yes.
organized. And so I first just want to say this is why I love being a woman. This is why now I am saying this as an orphan. Like to write a book about the matriarchs and not know my
Mhm.
own was a pretty
Mhm.
profound experience for me. And to write about these women who I claim as my matriarchs, and I think we should all claim because they illuminate, as you said, an embodied gospel in such a
Mhm.
way that invites us all to become the truest version of ourselves.
Mhm.
So I want to speak briefly to what you mentioned about Mothers of the Black Panther movement. I think of Ruth Beckford Smith at St. Augustine Church in Oakland, California, and her bishop had asked her to start a breakfast program just
Mhm.
in the church fellowship hall because babies needed breakfast before they
Yeah.
had 6 hours of math and science and English. And she said, okay. And she got some other community mamas to tap in. Now, she wasn't a mama herself, mind you. She was a dance teacher.
Mm.
And she was like, but she, very, very, very involved in her local church. And they got together, they fed folks, and they fed more in the next handful of years than the whole state of California. The networks that first started at St. Augustine's Church. And then, of course, fast forward, there's free breakfast programs all over the country, notably the one in Chicago that I shared about at retreat, that the police came and ruined all the food the night before it was open, and they still found a way to open that next morning to feed
Yeah.
those babies. The way that they set the table in a country that was not set for them is just absolutely miraculous and such a testament to not only the goodness of Black women, but to just women of color. I can't even think about that story without getting choked up because it's so beautiful. And then so here they are, there's breakfast sites all over the country. They're feeding tens of thousands of children.
Yes.
We're talking pre-internet, sis. They
Yeah.
had this organized coalition
Mm-hmm.
going door to door to get their donations,
Yes.
brokering with vendors to get a great deal on eggs
Yes.
and bread. I mean, it's just incredible, especially when you think about like there were no like Excel spreadsheets as we know it. There was no
It was keeping them books by hand. It's
like
crazy.
it's just amazing. It's amazing.
Mhm.
I heard Christian Smith, content creator online, he said, he's a Black theologian, and he's speaking of his ancestors. He's like, they did so much more with so much less. They
Mm-hmm.
did so when we think about what we're going through now, they did so much more with so much less. We got this, you
Yeah.
know? And it
Yeah.
was such a beautiful reminder of
Mhm.
just how organized they got. So
Yeah.
then, of course, Congress says you can't do this anymore. And so they say, well, then you do it. And now we have free breakfast at almost every public school across the nation. And I
Yes.
remember being in high school and qualifying for free breakfast. And little did I know, it was 30 years before, starting
Mm.
in Oakland, California, a yes from a group of women of color who said, we're going
Yeah.
to lock arms and feed our community because it's the right thing to do. And
Yes.
I think I was sold a version of the faith and consented to a version of the faith that said you are gonna go after the nations and God wants you to do great things. I didn't know great things could be serving breakfast. It was
Mm.
so razzle dazzle rather than ordinary. I
Yes.
wish I would have known that the ordinary is holy. I wish somebody would
Mm.
have told me up front that the ordinary is beautiful and the ordinary is good and the ordinary makes way for such communal flourishing. So just one feature in the woman we've been waiting for. Another one that I really like to think about is Moses' birth mom and adopted mom. So
Yeah.
you have Pharaoh's daughter, you have Jehoshaphat, and you also have a sister, Miriam, who's just a baddie in her own right, okay? She
Yes.
rescues her brother at the water's edge when he's a baby, and then
Mhm.
again was in when he's an adult. Like she is
Yeah.
just there for these critical moments of leadership, and she modeled
Hmm.
such a different way of rest to both Egypt and the Hebrews. But when you look at these women and the way they worked in tandem, and we never see them in the same scene, we never see them in the same scene, but the way they communed together for goodness in a way that would be the flourishing not only for Moses, but the birth of a liberation movement
Yes.
on behalf of the Hebrews, I think is just so moving. So I think that there's so many women in history. You think of ones that are so obviously a group that worked together, but let's think of the ones who we wouldn't have one without the other if they would not have each played their unique role,
Yeah.
one from poverty, one from power,
Mm.
coming together for flourishing for just one baby. And it
Yeah.
led to flourishing for thousands and
Yeah.
eventually tens of thousands of people.
Yeah.
Another great example of this is the oldest democracy in the world, said to be the oldest democracy in the world, is the Iroquois women
Mm.
in kind of the New York, a little bit over the border Canada region. And so many of the suffrage movement modeled their
Mm.
fight to vote and their fight for rights off the Iroquois women, which is just
Wow.
amazing. It's an amazing thing.
Mm.
It was a council of elders that was all women. There was almost
Mhm.
zero sexual violence in their community because they knew they'd have to face the matriarchs.
Mm.
They would broker for peace so their sons wouldn't need to go to war. The trade agreements they
Wow.
had for their crops. I mean, it was just incredible, flourishing was always at the center, not conquest, not power, not dominance, not othering,
Mm,
not hoarding, not hoarding wealth or
mm,
goods. It was truly, let's make sure everybody has what they need, which
yeah.
sounds so silly that is now such a high bar that just to make sure everybody has what they need.
Yes.
Um, which in all of those stories mirrors that women knowing that they win if everyone wins.
Yes.
And what I argue in the women we've been waiting for is that self-care is inherently communal.
Mm-hmm.
So we invite you to take care of yourself so that you can take care of
Mm-hmm.
your community, so that you can have a vision of what care looks like. Because
Mm-hmm.
how are you going to model fit if you're not doing that for yourself?
That's so good. That's so good. When you just talked about the Moses story, I their names are escaping me, but I always think about the midwives that
Shipra
hid.
and Pua.
Yes,
Shishra and
that
Pua.
hid,
Yeah.
yes. And how, I mean, they could have been killed.
Hmm.
They could have been killed
Hmm.
for defying Pharaoh's order. And I I kind of want to I kind of want to land the plane here, but you could just yap as much as you want. But
Oh, I know. This
I
time
just
went so fast.
I know, I
I
can talk to you
know.
forever. But I just wonder, okay, I feel like you and I have seen just women be strong our whole lives. Like I think
Mm,
about my mother, my granny, my grandmother. I think about growing up in a historically black church and seeing women do all of the background stuff. Like the head pastor was a man, but everybody else that was running the show, choir director, ministry leader, deaconesses, prophetesses, everybody, Sunday school. When I came to faith, there was a woman leading Sunday school.
yeah.
So all of those things. And I think about how a lot of times women maybe don't feel physically in danger, but they do feel like they are in danger if they defy what they feel like is
Mm,
sinful patriarchal leadership. Like in the same way that
oh, yeah.
Shipper and Pua were like, this is evil.
Yeah.
This is evil, and we
Yeah.
will not be obedient to someone who is not only trying to be sinful, but trying to harm the most innocent
Yeah.
among us. What would you say in this moment where it's not exclusively patriarchal, but we are seeing a lot of men
Yeah.
do some very evil things and even try to cloud that evil with the name of Christ?
Hmm.
What would
Hmm.
you say to a woman who's trying to be faithful, knows the ways that the Lord has gifted her and called her, and is like sitting at this chasm of like, I know what is being done here, whether in a church space, political space, workspace, familial space is evil.
Yeah.
How would you encourage her to do what is her God-given call, which is righteousness and justice in this
Yeah.
moment?
Yeah. I think that all of us find ourselves in these positions that we don't want to, but it's either loyalty to an institution or a person or our conviction. And so I
Yeah.
would first say to this woman, stay loyal to your conviction. I
Mm-hmm.
think so many of us are easily swayed because we think, oh, unto the Lord. I do this unto the Lord. I don't do this for man. Well,
Mm-hmm.
man's taking you for a ride, sis. Like he's counting on you. He's counting on you taking the high road.
Mm-hmm.
That's how this predatory, abusive situations take place. These because they are counting on us being women of integrity, but
Mm-hmm.
speaking up is still an act of integrity. I think so many of us
Yeah.
are like, no, I don't want to rock the boat. That's so I don't want to be seen as a
Girl, tip the
difficult
whole ship
woman.
over.
I
Tip.
don't I don't want to be seen as a difficult woman.
Yeah.
I am like diplomatic, people pleasing to a fault. And I
Mm,
have found myself in these situations. I'm like, doing the right thing can also be doing the hard thing. Speaking up
mm,
is never easy because you know there's a cost. You know you could be your testimony could be misconstrued, or you could be accused of being a disgruntled woman or upset or
mm,
emotional or what have or angry or what have you. But you have to live with yourself.
mm,
And hope, I've often heard it said hope isn't the belief that everything's going to turn out right. Hope is the believing that you have to live by your conviction even if it doesn't.
mm.
You're only responsible for you. So I just want to start
Yeah.
there. We cannot control the chaos of the world, but you can control your next move. And
Mhm.
speaking up is righteous.
Yes.
Speaking up is righteous. We have countless women in scripture who model that. Look at Vashti. She spoke
Hmm.
up. She was a right.
Yes.
We would have no Esther without Vashti. Vashti is just as much
Hello.
of a
Come
player.
on.
She
Yeah.
refused to appear, and Esther dared to appear before their king.
Yes.
They
Come
both
on.
had their part to play. They both had their part to play.
Yes.
So it is
Yes.
righteous to speak up and live by your conviction.
That's so good. Girl, y'all heard her. Go buy the book. Stop playing. Stop playing. Can you just say where anybody can find you if they want to read the book, if they want to call you out to come keep preaching like you've been doing the last because she going in. Tell everybody where they can find you, Queen.
Yeah, yeah, I hang out on Instagram, Tiffany Bluhm, Bluhm, also tiffanyblum.com. Links to all the free reading plans on the Bible app, links to all my books, and I would love, love, love to hang out with you on Substack as well.
Yes. Thank you so much, friend.
Thanks for having me.